Yeah, it is. It's creepy on many levels, which is maybe the vibe you give off in general. I don't know.
Is it?
We're new friends, so I haven't discovered yet. No, but what I find fascinating about this at film festivals, there's different trends of things that come through. Like a few years ago, I was like, if I see another mockumentary, I might have to die because there's so many of them. And then there's been things in recent years of people playing with like new technologies of how do we incorporate that into our story. And so there's something when you get a piece that has kind of a gimmick around the story of it that it doesn't always sustain. And this one, I was like blown away consistently that the story kept ramping up and that kind of trick, the device of how we're seeing it, never grows old. Like there's so many different ways that it's played with superimposing or with split screens. And so I'm wondering, like when you wrote it, did you always know like very clearly it needs to be part of it that it's going to be point of view from these devices, but that it was 100% going to be, and how does that shape like everything from the story to like storyboarding and how you're envisioning things?
So it was a massive challenge, and it was something that we all sort of put a stake in the ground to stick to the POVs because it's more authentic that way. It feels, we could have gotten out and broken the fourth wall or sort of used traditional views, but it feels more real somehow, and it puts you in the seat of this hacker, this stalker. So it's that added level that there's another level of creepiness, which is that voyeurism. So in a way, you guys are all sort of watching exactly the creepy footage that the stalker was watching. And that was something that we all thought was different. Like that we haven't seen that before. And that was a twist that we all liked. But it was a massive challenge. How do you sustain a feature film with these limited angles? You have 3 limited angles. Of course, they're mobile, but it's super challenging. You don't have the close-up, you don't have the punching, you don't have tracking, you don't have any of these traditional sort of these guidelines. So once we got used to it, it was a whole different style of shooting. It was great, but that's a part of what makes the film, special for us. We really like that. It's sort of different in that way.
Well, it is because you're complicit. Like there's enough still moments where like you're watching her sleep, and then it's there long enough that you're like, oh, I'm the creeper that's watching her. Like that too. I've not seen it used where the device is the antagonist. Like and then therefore the audience is weirdly. It gets sort of meta in that way. It became a real mindfuck, as we say in the industry.
Yes, yeah. A mindfuck indeed.
Yeah.
To your point, real quick, we talked a lot about found footage, and that's another thing. To your mockumentary, you've seen overused a lot, and we never really liked that like this film is a found footage film because like found footage in traditional is always like the antagonist doing the camera. Hey, let me like walk into the woods or like document this ghost, this witch, let's find her, whatever. And here, like,
that was, by the way, a perfect impression.
In this one, hey, it's like always in front of the mirror, the first shot, like I'm filming this all, and you guys will all, blah blah. This one, like she doesn't know that she's getting filmed the entire time until like the very last. She doesn't even know in the end scene, So I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit more about this too, but. We just, we were just fed up with found footage, even though we've seen probably every single found footage that is out there before making this, obviously. But, the cameras, as we said, like, they become, a tool, and therefore, like, all of us were, like, a million steps ahead of Emma, and usually you're not, like, usually you're always as far as the cinematographer or the found footage dude, is with his crew or, like, with his wife or whatever they always do.
Well, the reality of that is also what makes it such an intense experience because, if you watch, there's such a range of genre, like of horror films, of the different kind of characters, or like there's haunted houses, or there's like you can watch like Ringu, and there's this character coming through the screen, and I've always found that for me, it's like more fun fright if it's like, well, I'm just never going to go to that one particular haunted house in Japan, and then I'm not like actually scared myself. And with this one, I was like, okay, well, I for sure sleep within like 3 feet of 4 cameras. So that's fun for me now that I know that this is a real life thing. And so there's something both about the immediacy, it's not found footage because it's happening footage, the immediacy of what we're watching, but also the reality of this kind of technology. And I'm wondering, how much creepy research did you have to do to find out about this world, and how real is that?
Yeah, that's one thing that we liked a lot about it, is that it's not a ghost story, it's not a demon, it's a real thing. And we found out about this like about 4 years ago, and it was something that at that point a lot of people didn't know about, and I think a lot of people still don't know that it's a real thing, and like this happens, and there are crime units at police departments like all over the country that work on only this kind of thing. And so it's something that really happens, and instead of creating a story about a ghost or a zombie or whatever, this is something that is really real. So
Okay, I feel like you're saying ghosts and zombies aren't real. I'm gonna give you a pass on that, just like out of friendliness, but
They're definitely real.
yeah. Are there questions from the audience? Like if you want to know exactly how you can hack into someone, please don't ask that while I'm here. I'm already a little nervous. Right here. Yes.
I just don't know why you named it Rabbit.
Why is it named Ratter?
Great question. So a ratter is basically a term that is used in these weird underground communities of hackers that actually hack into people's webcams. Typically it's women, and the term comes from the acronym RAT, R-A-T, and it stands for Remote Access Trojan or Remote Administration Tool. It's kind of interchanged. And it's really just malicious software. It's a virus that people, hundreds of thousands of people all around the world can download without you knowing, whether it's through a link and et cetera, et cetera. Go home and Google it. It's really fucked up, actually. But it is real. That's the scary part that you kind of mentioned, and I want to echo, because we're not trying to scare everybody into like never using their laptop, obviously, but it's just something that is good to know about, obviously. Yeah, it's a story that we wanted to tell because it's never quite been told before. It's something that we should know about. It's weird, yeah.
The more you know.
I think it's also a little bit of a commentary on culture. Just like right now, we all live in a time when there's so much tech out there, and we're adopting it so fast, and we never really stop to think about what that means in our lives. And we bring things into our personal spaces, and they do great things. Like there's no question about it. But sometimes, like it's good to take a step back and think about what these things do in our lives that maybe isn't so good to play as well. So.
And I think that it's on so many layers. Like even just the small fact, like her mom not knowing her address is like how if I lost my phone or if I was somewhere, I'm like, oh, I don't know anyone's number, like at all. Like I barely know my address. I certainly don't know my parents. And that's a funny thing about like, that is a different kind of the dependence of the technology. Like her being like, well, hold on, let me look this up, because people don't remember those things anymore.
Yeah, it's also an interesting idea that we came about, and the idea of being connected but not really there, and that's something that we kind of we all experience now. We all really Skype with our parents or FaceTime with our parents when they're further away than us. We all moved to New York, and that was something that was important to us for the ending, was to feel that weird juxtaposition of that you feel like you're there when you're talking to somebody on a video chat, but you're not there. And what if something happened on the other end of that line? How helpless would you be, and how terrifying is that?
100% helpless. That's how. I will say on the other thing of helpless, that learning about this rat thing is already terrifying, but there was just some small analog detail of him being able to open that deadlock that I was like, no shit, no, what? You can just open a deadlock? Like, my whole world is a lie. It was...
And while we're like, should we put this in the film? Because now people are going to know how to do that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Oh yeah, that's real. In camera, we captured that. We taught the actor how to do that in, 4 minutes. So it's not hard to
You
do.
just had that knowledge.
From a YouTube video,
Great.
It's
good. Everyone
technology.
here, like all of their search engine, like your search histories put you on such watch lists. P.S.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions over here?
Yeah, I mean, simply put, with selling the film or like trying to get studios to look at it or buy it or remake it, where are you guys at with this film on that?
Well, recently we just got picked up by Sony Pictures.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of actually releasing this movie or maybe retooling it, reshooting it to make it like they did with Paranormal Activity.
Right.
Like, Paramount bought it to remake it, but then they ended up saying, wow, it just works the way it is, so that's what we'll release. Is this what Sony Pictures bought and wants to release, or?
Actually, Paranormal, the ending was changed. The studio changed the ending.
Yes, 3
Yeah. Well, no. So right now, that's the state of the movie is going to stay the same,
Yay.
unless we talk about things further. But as of now, it'll stay the same.
It might change the name of the cat, but other than that,
Yeah, exactly.
kidding, I love the cat. Any other questions? Right here? Yes.
Middle here?
You, yeah.
All right, how long did it take you to shoot it?
We shot for a little over 3 weeks. Maybe, 3 weeks.
16 days shooting, right?
16 days.
And you closed all those streets for every time that she's like walking around?
Oh yeah, we had permits for
All
everything.
around.
6th Avenue, we shut down for the week actually.
Yeah.
The week.
Yeah.
We just got it for like, 3 hours with helicopters.
Crewing these
Yeah.
out? Yeah,
Yeah.
helicopters.
Ashley was there.
Right here?
So, what solution? How do you protect yourself? I mean, what do you do? Just literally tape over your camera? You got to use the cameras.
Yeah, great question. And that's something that even like tech professionals are kind of stumped at right now. Because whenever there's a solve for a particular virus, just another one comes out. I'm not the tech guy to answer that question, but I don't think any of us are really. Yeah, I mean, you can put tape over it, literally. It's the analog solution so you're not like naked
Peel it
running
back.
around and people are watching you.
The tape you in the end scene. That's like you pick
Another theme that plays into that question is the idea that we use a lot of this technology, but we're not really proficient deeply technologically with it. So that was what we found interesting, was that all of us use this technology, computers, cell phones every day. We're not coders. So I think if you knew something a little bit deeper in computer programming, you might be able to have a better idea of what's going on with your computer day to day. But even so, I think this is something that is just devious enough to get through, and if you're not careful. So this is why actually a lot of companies sell patches to put over webcams, and it's another thing that we saw as we were making this movie. It actually is a business that's thriving in a weird way because of this horrible consequence.
There are also 2 apps. One is called Camlock, and the other one is, I think, MicLock. So when you download them, it actually disables, I think, the mechanical connection between your circuit board and your microphone or webcam. But I think it's also still software. I mean, it's definitely, the tape is the analog solution, but you can actually get those 2 apps too. They definitely disable your camera, and they definitely disable your microphone, because obviously tape doesn't, disable a microphone. So technically, even if you have tape, someone could still listen into the conversation you have. But like with this thing, I don't know exactly how it works. It's a new app or 2 new apps that just came out, Camlock and MicLock they're called. Or microphone lock or camera, webcam lock or something.
These are apps that Stefan designed, so he's trying to sell them.
Download them for free right now.
I would actually be ecstatic to find out you guys, like the movie was just a long con. This whole app thing that you set up.
Yes, excellent.
You're just going to spread.
Maybe tell Sony, maybe they could come up with a cool app.
Everyone here be
Yeah.
quiet about it. We'll split the profits betwixt this theater, but it's our new plan. Okay, we have time for one more question. Back there? Yes.
How much was the whole budget for the movie?
The film budget?
Great question, and one that we won't tell you.
It's another thriller. The budget's a mystery.
No, I think it was we shot it for $175 million.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They actually have the exact same budget as Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah. Different styles, but you know.
It's the same thing. Well, so I would like to thank all of you so much for coming out tonight. Yeah. The mother of dragons died. I'm just kidding. I had to Google something from Game of Thrones just so I'd know characters, so I could put a face. I made that up right now. Don't be mad. Don't take it out on them.